right, should we get started?
Yeah, let's get started. Well, thank you all. Welcome. I am Carolyn Eberly, founding director of Indivisible Charlotte. Thank you for being here with us today. We are so excited on this winter stormy day that you have joined us. We have such a large crowd today, and we have people all the way from indivisible groups across the state to coalition partners that we've worked with. We have quite a gathering here, and just so thankful that all of you are here. Um, I wanted to share with you today is an extra special day for Indivisible Charlotte. It was 9 years ago today that three strangers came to my house to write letters to their representatives around my kitchen table. And 9 years later, we are over 4,000 strong. So thank you. A lot of that is in part by so many of you and your dedication to this work and to staying in it, and appreciate all of you who have been in it for a long time. And I also appreciate those of you that are just coming into it and just stepping up into this work, because you are infusing our group with new energy, new talents, and letting us have more opportunities to give to the community. So for 9 years, we have been out there educating and engaging our community in civic and electoral activism with the goal of adding justice and equity to our democracy. And so thank you for being here in this work. It's a special day for us today. One of the things that I wanted to say, though, is this work is hard. This work in general is hard as an organizer and as an activist. And then you add in the fascist takeover and the chaos of every day, and especially the heaviness of this moment right here. And I'm so thankful today that we have this workshop planned, because it is more important than ever for us to take care of ourselves and check in with ourselves, to find joy, to practice empathy and join in community to get through these moments. And I am so thankful that we have Lauren Ortel here with us today to help share perspective and give us some tools in taking care of ourselves, grounding us in this work, because more than anything, especially in this moment, we need to stay in this work. We can't burn out. So it is so critical that we recognize what we need to do for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for our community to stay in this work. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to Rachel Salo, our coalition director, who will introduce our workshop host.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be with you all today. Hope you all are staying warm and have power, and this next batch of snow doesn't, or ice doesn't take us all into a cold place. But I have the pleasure of introducing Lauren. Lauren is a writer, editor, and community organizer. She's passionate about supporting authors, books, writing communities, and local bookstores. She lives in Austin, Texas, with her partner Orlando and their tuxedo cat Apollonia, who is very cute. I know I have had the pleasure of working with Lauren for many years as a teammate with me at Indivisible. She was the Texas and New Mexico organizer until about a year ago. So welcome, Lauren.
Hi, thanks so much, everyone. Let's see. So I'll go back and forth with sharing some slides, and just 1 second. So I really just want this. Oh, the chat is huge. Okay. All right, so I am so grateful to be here, and this is one of three workshops that I'm excited to provide for y'all. And this first one is Sustainable Activism at the End of the World. The end of the world, apocalyptic times is something that comes up a lot. And so what do we do? How do we, when it feels like everything is not okay, and it's generally not, how do we move forward? How do we continue with our activism and make it so that we can do it for much longer and have it be less painful than it often is? So the first thing is a thank you. Seriously, I am so impressed with everything that all of you in Charlotte, across North Carolina, have already done. I've learned a lot about it through Rachel over the years, and I really enjoyed North Carolina. I've been about 6 or 7 times now, planning my next trip. I've been to Charlotte quite a few times. Rachel's been a great person to give me a tour and the local history and things like that. So I'm excited to be back again, probably in the next few months. But anyway, so I'm so excited to be here. And all right. So what we can actually first in the chat to get to know a little bit more. Let's see if y'all can pull up the chat here. If you are anywhere other than Charlotte, I'll assume most are in Charlotte, but so in the intros in the chat, your location, if you're somewhere else, and then also how long you've been with the group. Because like Rachel said, or was it Carolyn said, we have folks who have been here for 9 years with the group. We probably have some of you who have been activists for decades. And then we probably have some folks who are pretty new to this work. And all of that is so, so important. I love when there are brand new folks who infuse the new energy and new ideas. And I love the folks who come from decades of experience and all of those insights. So just to get a feel in chat, okay, we've got 9 years, 8 months, brand new. Okay, oh, this is a wonderful spread. 9 years and counting. Yes. Jackie, counting, like it's yes, this isn't the end. It for many people is the beginning, a little less than a year. Okay, awesome. So it already looks like your group has a very good range of experience and then the fresh energy. And both of those are huge. Okay. And I'm seeing, okay, we've got someone in Virginia and yeah, okay. This is great. Okay. So the next thing I'd love for you to put in the chat is one thing, I know there are many things, but one thing that you are proud of when it comes to what Indivisible Charlotte or your Indivisible group or your activism, it can be within the past year, it can be uh, you know, 10 years ago, just something in the activism work that you are proud of, because I know there is a lot to be proud of, and it's easy to forget that when we are overwhelmed with the heaviness of everything. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Dan McCready campaign, writing representatives, relationships and connections with like-minded people. Yes, relationships and connections are so, so huge and standing up against injustice. And yeah, if there's any particular event or victory, electoral or otherwise, or maybe a first, okay, canvassing for candidates working with other groups, 6 acre community garden. Oh my gosh, with uh, over 200 plots. Yes, yes, these are fantastic. Okay, I love it. Okay, so you can see here, there's already so much great work that you've been doing. There's a lot to be proud of. And so let's keep that in mind. Hold on to that. And actually, does anyone have anything specific? So while we have such a large group, we're going to do a lot of engagement in the chat. But while we have a little bit of time, um, is there someone who has a specific memory of Indivisible Charlotte and something that y'all are proud of? And you can, if y'all can use the raised hand feature, that'll be the easiest because I can't see everybody's images. Does anyone want to? It can be from leadership team or anyone new or who's been around for 9 years. One specific thing that Indivisible Charlotte has done an event. Okay, Sue, do you want to unmute and give us one example?
Well, one thing that I'm really proud of is our canvassing, and specifically that we got Woodson Bradley in the Senate
All
by
right.
200 and some votes. But I'm pretty sure that the work that we did helped make that happen. And she's been a fantastic senator, a wonderful communicator, and I look forward to making sure she stays.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So not only are y'all having a lot that you're doing, but also some things that are really making a difference that you can see. And that is just incredible. So All right, we are going to have this worksheet. Let's see, Rachel or anyone who had it ready. Oh, perfect, so quick. Okay, so I'm going to be filling this out alongside you. We're all doing this together, grounding in what we can do to make our activism more sustainable. And so we can go ahead and start. If you want to add at the top, it's I'm proud of. So a quick note on anything that comes to mind for you. So it could be what you put on the chat or something else. If you have a specific example that can help with the next piece that I'm going to get to in a second. But other than that, my background in how am I, doing this workshops? Who am I other than what Rachel shared as like a brief intro? So I have been working with various nonprofits, organizations, coalitions, networks for over 10 years, like very actively. I did a variety of things pretty much all my life, but it was 10 years ago that it was like, okay, I am going to really put in a lot of time and effort into addressing. My key thing is addressing preventable suffering. And one of the sources and systems where I was particularly finding a lot about that was with the prison industrial complex and that policy area, issue area. And I won't get into the details right now, but so I started connecting with a lot of organizations here in Austin, led by formerly incarcerated folks. And I was able to do full-time work there. And then from that transition to Indivisible, transition to something else. Now I'm on my own, and activist care is something that I'm so passionate about because I know what it looks like when we don't take good care of ourselves and when the work does not feel sustainable. I have done, and it's out of care, right? So we're here because we care. We care about the suffering that's happening, and we believe we can do something to stop it. So all of you are, you're already doing the things that you can to stop it, and it can feel too heavy most days. The news yesterday, the news every day, but there are particularly heavy days. And so, we do want to recognize that there's a lot that we're holding and it's intense. And we can hold a lot of that responsibility and it can be really heavy. So I have seen that. One example of how I got into this and how I got to see just um, how devastating it can be to kind of sacrifice your health and like just push through when there's something that you care about and not to worry too much about caring for your own body and mind. 10 years ago, I was a volunteer at the Austin Children's Shelter, and there was a sibling group of 5 kids, and they were about to be split up. And I didn't want to see that happen. And so I did all the process really quickly, and it was really intense and ups and downs. And I took them in as foster kids, and it was the worst thing I ever did. It did not go well. If any of you are foster parents or just parents in general, that is like the hardest thing ever. And I hope you know it is the hardest thing ever. And so it's incredible if you're able to do it. And I wasn't. And so I ended up, the stress was so extreme. I ended up in hospitalized and with an autoimmune disease for the rest of my life that continues to kind of haunt me every day and more, later years hospitalizations and everything. So it's been a lot. And, that was because I cared so much and I just put like everything into it and it was so stressful. And I've seen it a lot also in activism, in nonprofits, whether you're working for them or volunteering for them, with everything that folks are up against today. I have seen a lot of suffering from those who are trying to reduce suffering. And so I know, and I've had the benefit of having a lot of helpful resources that have completely changed my ability to navigate each day. I'm doing so much better the past year. Well, the first 6 months of last year, I had a new job that was even more stressful. And so that was really damaging. And yeah, I've had a lot to recover from that. And so anyway, all of you, whatever range of health situation and disabilities and things like that you're in, stress is bad for all of us. I I bet you know that, but I really, really believe it so much, and I want to reduce it, reduce our stress, the ones who might not always be the primary targets under attack right now, maybe, but that are active in addressing that. And so, okay, so the goal today, the goal of these workshops is that I'm going to be sharing a variety. It's going to be a lot of different perspectives, tools, resources, ideas. These are all what have helped me over the years to get to a much more sustainable place of knowing what my role is, my focus, how to not just, be spiraling in grief and fear every day. Not to say I don't relapse into that sometimes, but much more stable now because of all these things. But also it was over years. And so you don't have to rush to get any of these, to try to take in all these. It's just a sampling, and I'm hoping that one thing, maybe two, one thing really is the goal. One thing will resonate for you, and are going to use this worksheet to connect it to a change so that you can make one change at a time, because trying to do more than that, it doesn't work. So one change after you leave this, that you will have a slightly different habit, a slightly different approach to a part of your day or the news or something that is going to make it so that you are taking care of yourself and you are reducing your stress, and then you're going to be more impactful with the work that you're doing. So that is the goal. And ultimately to make your activism more sustainable so you can continue doing it for much longer. All right. So now going back to the slides. Oh, it keeps hiding them. 1 second. Okay. Here we go. All right. So we are going to look at 3 frameworks for sustainable activism at the end of the world. And again, the goal is that you're going to leave with one main thing that's going to help you make a change or habit adjustment for more sustainability in your activism. Okay, so humor. I don't know how much y'all already incorporate this, but I have seen it a lot from all kinds of people going through all types of horrible things around the world. 2 recent examples, someone from Lebanon and someone from Ukraine shared about how much humor is so important. It can be dark humor, it can be, whatever type in the midst of just unthinkable horrors and tragedy. And so we can lean into that a little bit. So end of the world memes everywhere. So just to be like, okay, how can we take things are so bad? How can we step back or take a wider view and see, okay, can we laugh at any of this? So I'm going to share a few. You've probably seen any of these, and maybe share in the chat if you have any favorite like end of the world memes. This is a really common one. It's fine. Everything is fine. World is on fire, but it's fine. Don't worry. We also have, oh, sorry, the resolution isn't high on this. So some people with a lot of power, right, are like, should we end world hunger or just end the world? And yeah, we kind of know which button they keep pressing, which is pretty frustrating, but maybe we can laugh about it for a second. And then I don't mean to brag, but this is like the 10th end of the world I've survived. So also, a lot of people have been here before, whole civilizations, all types of things. Let's see, do we have more? Okay, this one, Rachel, I thought of this one with you especially. So some great Instagram artists. This one is, it's always spooky season when you live in a fascist dystopian hellscape. So let's see, is that a crow or a raven? I think it might be a raven. Um, and then we've got, oops, this is hard. Okay. Ah, yes, the daily struggle, desperately trying to hold on to hope while also not imploding with rage and terror. Oh, and also functioning as an adult in a capitalist hellscape. So those are just some of the ways that we might be like, okay, how can we laugh in these horrible times? So I'm gonna look in the chat. Did y'all have any that came up that you like? Okay, so activities. Yes. Okay, so humor activates a different part of my brain and spirit. It gets in the way of the facts just feeling overwhelming. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, and I see Laftivism is a must. we lose our sense of humor, we're done. Yes, okay. I'm so happy to see. Oh, and I see another okay, New Yorker cartoons about the end of democracy. Yes, okay. This is so great to see that y'all are already tapped into this a bit. I don't know if you already incorporate it into the work that you do with the group, with your groups. And so, yeah, that is good to hear. And then now I'm going to shift a little bit to, is anyone here familiar with Margaret Killjoy? The anarchist blogger who gives me a lot of hope actually. So let me go back to my screens, my slides. Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know if you can hear that cute cat Apollonia is just hollering at me. She is so angry. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So this is the origin of this goes way back, but it's kind of something that's been shared a lot in various circles, including anarchism ones. So even if the world was to end tomorrow, I would still plant a tree today. So this is that idea of, okay, what with all that's going on and all of how overwhelming it is, what does it look like to say, this is so intense and the world, it feels like it's ending and or it is, and yet I'm still going to do something that I know has meaning, and that, gives me purpose. And so I'd love to hear in the chat, what is planting a tree for y'all? Maybe it is planting. Like if any of you plant trees, put that in the chat. I love that. Oxygen, and beauty and nature and everything. But what is something that it's like, even if somebody said, hey, everyone, sorry, tomorrow it's over. This is our last day. What is something meaningful that we could still do? Okay, wear inflatable costumes. Oh my gosh, I love that. The originality. Okay, this is great. So yeah, if you can put in the chat. Okay, Amy just planted 4 trees from trees. Yes, it does feel so hopeful. That is fantastic. Anything grounding in the soil, spending time with family and friends. Yes, listening to classical music, volunteering for my kids' school, create and share art. Yes. Okay, I am so excited about what y'all are putting in the chat. This is a part of it of like, okay, it might all be over tomorrow. The chances are low, but not zero. Someday maybe something or life as we know it, the world as we know it will end. So yes, hugging dogs and experiencing nature, reading. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot of these things too. Oh, somebody has an axolotl inflatable. I love that so much. And dancing, yes. Playing in the mud, pottery. Okay, yes, yes. Please hold on to these things, and they might even come up in your worksheet as ways of balancing the work. And yeah, so these are all fantastic. Thank you. Walking in the woods. Yep, I want to walk in the woods too. Okay, I could spend a long time listening to 60s rock. These are so great. We'll move on. But thank you for that. I really, really love that. Okay, so going back to that that image and Margaret Killjoy and this idea of like, okay, if the world is ending. So she has an email that she sent out, and I will have that as part of the follow-up resources. There's an email that goes through these 4 things, these mindsets of like, oh, why does it say 3? It's 4. I'm sorry. Um, of how do we navigate, when everything is so overwhelming every day and it feels like the end of the world, how do we even think about this? And a big part of what we as activists or just, engaged and or informed humans have to do pretty much every day is hold conflicting truths all the time, right? It's just like everything is terrible and yet there are still so many beautiful things every day, we have to hold that, but we can use that. And so here are 4 seemingly conflicting ideas or mindsets that we can hold at the same time and that can have use for us. So all right, One, act like we are about to die. So that's the kind of the world's ending tomorrow. Okay, what does that mean? It means making the most of the time that we have now through what brings us pleasure and joy. And y'all already gave great examples of that in the chat of like, okay, if it's over tomorrow, are we going to spend the time running around screaming? Well, if that feels good, okay, you can. Or just crying, or are we gonna go walk in the woods and dance and make pottery and be with family and hug dogs, So so thinking about that of like, okay, if we're about to die, how can we make the most of this time that we have? So that's one mindset that we can also hold while thinking, okay, we might not die right away. So that means, but things are bad and getting worse in various measures. And so what does that mean of we might not die tomorrow, but maybe soon-ish? I don't know. And climate crisis, and we're all experiencing extreme weather and all of that. So what that could mean is preparing for more crises ahead by focusing on our most important resource, which a lot of you have already connected this, but it's connections with other people. So all of you are already doing that because you're a part of a group. You're not doing this alone, which is huge. And so the most effective means of survival, this is all coming from Margaret Killjoy in this email that I'll include. The most effective means of survival in crisis is to create community disaster plans, practicing mutual aid, building networks of resilience. So that's that idea of like, okay, we're gonna make the most of the moment we have, but also prepare ahead a little bit for, extreme weather events and other things. I know y'all are getting ready for ice to come back, which is horrifying, and y'all did so well with them last time. And so it's kind of like, okay, how are we going to prepare for that as a community? How are we going to stay connected through the challenges that that's going to bring? So we can hold those at the same time and also acting like we have a chance to stop this. And what this looks like is because now is a more intense moment than, five, even, well, maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, depending on the perspective that you have and the experience that you have. What we can do is we can release waiting for permission. And I know y'all already do because, excuse me, you already do so much. And so we don't need to worry about perfectionism, trying to please everyone, doing it exactly the perfect right way, and waiting for that time to come because it's the time to act, even against odds that can feel impossible. So everyone in the group as a whole, we don't need to wait for, even though y'all are a part of getting really great people elected, we don't have to wait for them to save us, right? We save ourselves, we keep each other safe, that type of thing. So yes, this group already embodies this third one really well. And then the fourth one is, okay, actually, we can also at the same time think a little bit about there might be a long, long term ahead still. And so things could take a dramatic turn for improvement of all this effort that so many people are putting in. It could really start, having the results that we want. And so let's say we know there are at least 100 years ahead of like relatively stable times, improved from now, hopefully. Um, and so that would mean, okay, we still want to aim for sustainable income. We want to make art, prioritize our health, plant trees, those things. So let's hear in the chat of these four options, like, okay, it feels like we're about to die tomorrow. It feels like we might die within like a year or so, or the world's going to end. Or we are like, okay, there is a chance to stop this. So I'm going to be in that mode. Or, okay, I know things are ultimately going to work out. So I can, continue having that long-term mindset. If y'all want to put in the chat, um,
Lauren,
mhm.
did you want me to launch that poll for that question?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick forgiveness on the poll. I'm working to correct it on the backside now, but we have 4 poll questions coming to you throughout the training today or the workshop, and I have them all listed on the first launch.
Oh.
So just answer the first question, and I can relaunch the poll later for questions 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Okay, so which of those four mindsets have you been in the most? I'll say that I tend to go between two and three the most, but I have had plenty of moments of the first one of like, I don't know, maybe tomorrow, maybe it's over tomorrow. So yeah, you can put in the poll. Let's see, and then so I wonder if I even fill it out. If I hit submit. Okay. And then, yeah, Rachel, I don't know if you'll be able to show the results
Yep, I
um,
will.
with only one being answered. Okay. Awesome. So in the
We're at
meantime,
about 30% participated.
oh,
So
great. Okay.
if I take a moment and think and enter your poll, and then I'll show the results.
Okay. I'm seeing in the chat, so this is kind of an informal poll in the chat. A lot of people on the third view that there's a chance to stop this. I'm not totally surprised, but it is helpful to see. Um, And so, okay, yes, a lot of threes here. Okay, and then we have from Rick, we are going to die, and that's okay. One person can make a huge difference by changing themselves while also building community. Yes, yes. Okay. Oh, can I put the graphic back up? Okay, would that be the list of four options or the image of a tree at the end of the world?
Probably the list.
Okay. All right.
I think participation has slowed down. Most people who could use the
Okay.
poll probably have. So I will do the share result.
Okay. So, oh yeah, 75% are three. Okay. No one is in the like, it's going to be fine. Yeah, I understand that. I think it's been at least 10 years since I've been in that mode. Okay. So, but that's really great to see. So, thank you, Rachel. All right. And okay, in the worksheet, we have underneath what I'm proud of, we have touchstone for grounding. So, something that you can focus on to ground yourself. So, as you might be stressed right now, or as you're preparing for the next visit from ICE, or as you're in, a different situation, you're in a meeting or another training. What is something that you can touch or focus on to ground yourself? So it could be maybe like a ring or like a necklace, like if somebody has something like that, a pet, a soft blanket, or hot tea. Actually, hot tea sounds really good. For me, it's often breath. I do a lot of mindfulness stuff and meditation, and I'll get to that a little bit. But so the breath of just like really slow breathing, long exhales, deep breaths, is something that really helps me. So, let's see. I think folks were putting in the chat what that can look like. Oh, yes. And then so feel free to put it. Oh, I need to add it here on mine. So on your worksheet, what is that touchstone for grounding when things are feeling overwhelming? Just opened the news and saw another absolutely horrific thing. What does that look like? Okay, so pictures of grandkids, classical music, going for a walk. Yes, cats taking a nap, a walk, being in nature, walking and biking, meditation, music. Yes, okay. Okay, this is really good. So if y'all want to add that to your worksheet of what your touchstone is, it'll be helpful to refer to later. All right, and then, okay. One of the ways that I use breath, has anyone heard of yoga nidra, or like that type of meditation that's like a body scan? I really like doing just 5 or 10 minutes of these like guided um, uh like videos, you can look them up on YouTube or whatnot. NSDR. Yep, non-sleep deep breaths. Yes. I use that very frequently, like anytime I am feeling overwhelmed or burnt out. So yeah, thinking about what is that for you? What's a touchstone? Okay, and then we are going to move right along. Okay, let me get our slides back up. And so we've already kind of dipped into a few things, but we can kind of start from the bigger picture again on why we're here in this workshop. So, some of you are new, some of you have been doing this for 9 years, some much longer. But in general, a lot of us have accepted this is long-term work. We're here for the long haul, I plan to be actively engaged in, what's happening in my community, state, country, world, for as long as I live. And I know that in order to do that, I need to make sure that it's not tearing me down, and that I'm not burning out consistently with it. So, in order to do that, we need to make sure that all of you have a way to make this sustainable. And it's not about discipline of like, oh, you just need to try harder, anything like that. So, I'll get to that in a second. But, one of these things is that burnout for the individual is also a threat to the movement. I have seen so many activists struggle with the frustration and disappointment and overwhelm. And it often can look like anger and resentment of fellow progressive friends and family who they are like, you're not taking enough action. And those people are saying, well, you're taking a lot of action and you're really stressed, and I don't want that. And so, anyway, so there's just this way that if we are not okay in doing this work, we are not going to be effective recruiters for the work. And we always need more people. We all have so many people doing this, and we need more, right? It needs to be everybody. And so the more we are grounded in doing this from love and joy, even when it's hard, balancing that with the grief, that's how people can see, yes, like this is something that makes sense, and it's not going to destroy me. It's actually going to make my life richer and give me more purpose and meaning, all those things. And so, generally, also, when it comes to recruitment, people tend to not be very motivated by being shamed or made to feel guilty. So that means also leading by example, that y'all don't feel ashamed or feel guilty of not doing enough or not doing, having been doing this for longer, anything like that. And so, what brings people into the movement, and the more people we have, the more sustainable it is naturally, right? Because the work gets spread out, is what brings us all closer to the changes that we're working toward, and to show people the beauty in this work, even amidst the incredible suffering. There can be joy in it because we are connecting and we're doing it out of love, and we are bringing our full humanity together for the common good, and that is beautiful. So we want to, when we can, celebrate that and show others that they can be a part of this without being miserable. So, yes, I hope y'all have ways of doing this not being miserable. I can already tell with the Lactivism and with the things that you shared that a lot of you do have some really good tools and practices for this already. So on the discipline part, um, this is a thing. War Paint Journal often has great posts, and this is just kind of that like, whoa, hold on. So can someone please explain how one person is supposed to get 8 hours of sleep, walk 10,000 steps, go to work, eat properly, maintain hygiene, clean their house, exercise, care for pets, nurture friendships, and still have time for hobbies? At this point, it feels less like a lifestyle, more like propaganda, built for a version of adulthood that assumes invisible help. There's no commute, there's no emotional labor, no bad days, no bodies that get tired before schedules do. But most people are failing at balance. They're trying to live multiple full lives inside a single day, and calling that a personal shortcoming is how systems stay unexamined while people burn out quietly. It shifts structural impossibility to individual shame, and then has the audacity to sell discipline back to the people it exhausted in the first place. So, this is, does anyone else you can put in the, yeah, okay, you can put in the chat, feel like, yes, like there are so many things that I feel like I have to do every day, to be a responsible adult, especially if you're a caretaker, a parent, or a caretaker in any way. All of that, it feels impossible, and a lot of us can say, can feel like, okay, I just need to, have a better schedule. I need to be more focused. I need to, and it's like, okay, there are so many forces. We cannot blame ourselves. Um, and so, yes, trying to fit all these things is impossible. So how can we be softer on ourselves and softer with the expectations of people who show up from different things, different spaces? So, all right, so we're thinking about how this is like, oh yeah, we are expected to be superhuman and it's not fair. Um, and so I'm going to share something about like, what does this do to be having these unreasonable expectations and to be trying toward them, so much trying and trying and stress. So we've got this range, and so we've got high stress where we might be in fight or flight or freeze mode, high anxiety, anger, flashbacks, impulsivity, self-injury, defense, hypervigilance, overwhelm. I would say, definitely overwhelm can happen on a daily basis in this work, if not the other things. Feel free to put in the chat if you find yourself in that red zone of this fight, flight, freeze, overwhelm, um, anger, impulsivity, anything like that. And then down the other end, we have blue. So the submit or fawn response. So that could look like depression, numbness, indecision, feeling stuck, shut down, emotional detachment. So this is what happens to me when I spend too much time in the devastating news is I go into shutdown numbness. And so that's why I am very limited on what I consume in that because it doesn't push me to action. It gets me to just completely shut down. So we'll get more into this idea of window of tolerance later in the third workshop, but this optimal zone, the green zone, so ability to feel emotions without being taken over. So this could look like we absolutely need to grieve, right? We can't just say, nope, like, don't worry about everything that's happening, whether it's ICE murdering people or what's happening to our systems of education or school shooting, any of these things, like those are absolutely a call for grieving. But can we do it in a way that's not destroying us, especially with how much of it is coming at us all the time? Okay, so we want to be able to be in this green zone, access to conscious choices, thinking clearly, and being adaptable. So that's kind of a bigger picture reason on why we're here and why we need to prioritize this when there's so much that needs to be done. There's so much that you could do today, other than being here. So I'm grateful that you're here. And so for me, I have had a lot of impacts on my health from stress and overwhelm, a wide range of things. And I've had my nervous system just destroyed by various stressors. And so I have had to really get serious about taking time to recover from those and um, make sure that I can keep going. Okay, so thinking about what the impact is. Okay, so stress, overwhelm, and burnout. What happens when we're in those red or blue zones? Our health, I got a new disease because of stress. Families, what happens to our families, our friendships, other, important relationships, and the movement? What's at stake? So if all of us said, we're not going to think about our health, we're not going to think about what we need, we're going to give 100% of our energy to the work that needs to be done, what is at stake there? Like, what are we risking? If you want to put in the chat, what would be sacrificed if you said, I'm done focusing on anything else. I'm going to do the work with every second that I have. Let me look at the chat. All right, health. Yep, already sanity, won't last long, family. Yes, yes. Good relationship. The long-term ability to organize and take action. Absolutely. Yeah, and we do have other obligations. Mm. Ability to be hopeful. Yeah, so if you're someone who can help others find hope in how we find a way to move forward and continue, we're gonna have to, be strong on that when we can and model that. So mental health, yep. Yeah, it is. There's so much at stake here. Okay. So now we want to jump into triggers so that we can be better attuned to what gets us in that red or blue zone. And so let's do this and let's think about it. And okay, we don't need to put this on the worksheet. We're going to focus on the other pieces, but different triggers for stress. What drains you? And then so we can start with that. What makes you get into that red or that blue zone? For me, definitely the news, especially in video form. It just automatically kind of like takes me out. And it means that I can't function when I'm getting it in that way. So I have to get information through other ways. And then also, I learned over the years that moving from anger wasn't working for me anymore. I had to shift to make sure that I was doing the work from love, that that was my motivator. And so that's, something, and I've seen a lot of indivisible groups kind of shift, because it started as like, wow, Trump got elected for the first time. We gotta resist this. And so there's been a lot of anger-based organizing, but now that it's 9 years in, so many people have realized we have to shift to, what is driving us other than anger, and that's going to be more sustainable. So, okay, let's look at the chat here on what folks, what is triggering you, what makes you news, yes, okay. Yeah, arrogant thugs, news, videos, liars, negative people. So a certain person's face and voice, yes, trolls, laughing, watching live ice interactions, absolutely. That is incredibly triggering. Hateful rhetoric, gaslighters, bullies, yes. Okay, so y'all are recognizing a lot of these things and keeping in mind which ones you might be able to tune in and tune out of, because we're going to get to that on what we can do about this. But let's think again about ways to release or reduce them. So thinking about what you just dropped in the chat, what's one thing that could help release or reduce? So for those who put the news, and we'll get to this more and have it as a part of our plan if that's what's best for you. But watching less news, substituting that with some of those things that you shared in the chat that help you, feel alive and connected, things like that. Okay. So let's okay, let's go into our teachers and sources of inspiration because we will spend more time on the how to reduce those triggers and stress. So these are some of mine. Some people, some of them have come into my life more recently, like the past year or two. Some of them have been a decade or more, been a major influence in my life and my understanding of activism in the world and how it works and how to be okay. So this is a range of people from people who are personally in my life, my mindfulness teacher, Geeta, my good friend, Robert Lilly, who we wrote a book together while he was in prison,
Ahora
and
yo
now,
voy a pasarle la escoba al carro.
uh-oh, can we get a mute? And there's Angela Davis here, Brian Stevenson, so some of these like iconic leaders. And so, yeah, these folks and what they have shared over the years has been so helpful in what I do. And, they're my teachers in a way, whether they know me personally or not. So I would love to see in the chat. And then we will also add to the worksheet our sources of wisdom and inspiration. So let's go back to the chat and see what are some of your sources. Okay. Oh, yeah, the monks walking from Texas to DC. Dan Rather, Linda and David. Uh, Christy Puckett. Okay. Yes, yes. Okay, Shirley Chisholm, Bernie Sanders, the protesters, big protests in Minnesota. Yes, yes. I have something I was going to share after from Margaret Killjoy about Minnesota, Minneapolis specifically, and what's been happening there that's beautiful in the response to the horrors. Heather Cox Richardson, yep. Okay, Bishop William Barber, George Friday, yes. Okay, these are fantastic. So, remembering that we don't have to come up with all the ideas on our own. There are so many people who have come before us or who are, more recently sharing insights that can really help us. And so thinking of all these things, whether it's Mr. Rogers or Stephen Colbert, that there are people who have a lot that we can learn from. And so if you want to add on your worksheet one or more source of wisdom and inspiration, I'm going to put 2 here for me. Okay. All right. And then we are going to get into the frameworks. Okay. Awesome. This is wonderful. The chat is full of so many great things, so we should probably save the chat. Okay, where are we here? Let's go to the frameworks. All right, so I broke this down into 3 approaches that we can look at for how to make this shift, how to have one thing that we're all walking away with today that is like, okay, I'm going to make this shift and that's going to, set me on a path that's going to help reduce some of my stress and burnout. So the first one is a refocus on your 4 as much as possible. The second one, taking action for energy balance. So looking at the actions. The first one is looking more at our thoughts and where our mind is spending time. The second one is looking at the actions that we're taking. And then the third one is stop the spiral, which is mind again, but a little bit of a different practice. And so I want to give the disclaimer that, this whole workshop, the whole series of the workshops, and the idea of self-care in times like this, can be, people can be hesitant or have, these like kind of counterpoints. And so it's all in the context of knowing that all of you are already doing the work to push back on fascism and authoritarianism and harm, whatever you want to call it, the regime, all these things. So because I've seen critiques of like, okay, privileged, wealthy white women are focusing on self-care right now, and we need them to be doing things. All of you are already doing the things. So the critiques are for the people who really are not doing the work, but just jumping right to the self-care part. And so we don't need to worry about them. They're not our business, but all of you are already doing the work. And so, those are valid critiques of also things like toxic positivity, and we can't just, use gratitude, meditation, self-care, and therapy to, those things can only get us so far when we have a government and other entities, power holders that are attacking, kidnapping, and killing people, right? We can't, like, I've seen a lot of therapists post, like, I can't, like, there's only so much we can do through like talking about it and taking care of ourselves when the conditions are this extreme. So, but this is another thing where both are true. Yes, and. We know that you are already doing what you can to address the systemic issues. And so self-care and community care have value in making it so that you can do that more sustainably. So even under fascism, your health needs to be a priority. And so that you can do the things that you need to do and want to do. Um, and I know too well how little I can contribute to the work, the movement, when my health isn't stable. When I'm in the hospital, I'm not helpful to getting any of these things done. So that's why it's important to me that y'all take care of yourselves and each other, because you are doing the bigger care work for everyone. So let's look at that first one of focusing on our 4, and we can do the next poll. Rachel, if you wouldn't mind launching the poll again, and we'll this time answer the second question.
Actually, and they're split up. So you only have the
Oh
one
my
question to
gosh.
answer.
You are so quick. Fast moving behind the screen there. Thank you so much. Okay. So how often are you seeing, hearing, reading, thinking about Trump and the regime, these other tyrants harming people, essentially those that we're against, the things and the people that we're against? How much are you spending time with that? So we have under an hour a day, 1 to 2 hours a day, 3 to 6 hours a day, most of the day or night. So if you're able to submit a response, I think I saw that one person didn't see it. Is it coming up now? So the poll, if it popped up in the middle of your screen, hopefully, or you might be able to go, okay, see the last screen again. Yes, the three frameworks. Or yeah, I'll pull that up after we close the poll. Let's see if they're not seeing it on the screen, I think they can go down to
The three dots that say more, you can click that and you
Mhm.
should have an option to click polls. And it should come up for you there, the poll that is currently launched.
Okay.
If
Thank
not, that's okay. You can write under an hour, 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 6, or most of the day
you.
in the
Mhm.
chat.
Yeah, thank you. And then Rachel, how many have completed the poll just so we can see if it's working for anybody?
Yeah, no, we're at 72%. It
Oh,
looks like
yeah.
it's kind of stalled right there. So I'll go ahead
Okay.
and launch
Awesome.
results.
Okay. Oof. Okay. The highest one here is 3 to 6 hours a day. That's a lot. Yeah, I am very glad that you're here. Okay, so thinking about that, of the waking hours that we have, I don't know, 12, 6, it depends on how long. I have to be in bed from like 10 to 8 essentially. No, but so of the waking hours that we have, if a lot are what was that, 3 to 6 hours of it, 4 to 6 hours of it, is you're thinking about or seeing or reading about or hearing the people who are really harming others and you. That is a lot. So I hope that you can kind of sit with that for a second of like, okay, wow, no wonder days are hard to get through because that is uh triggering. So like these are like triggering things, 3 to 6 hours a day. Yeah. Um, thank you, Rachel, so much for that. Okay. So we can sit with that and think about, okay, that is really, really heavy. So I'm glad you're here. And how can we, so I'll share my screen again, including that slide that I had up a second ago. Okay, so these being the three frameworks, focusing on your four, taking action for energy balance, and stop the spiral. So we're looking at number one here, focus on your four. So we just found out a lot of people in this space are spending hours a day up against consuming in some way, being impacted in their own home, in your own home, I assume, and or also, if you're out on the streets protesting, if you're at work, if you're, you are spending your precious hours hearing and reading about and witnessing the people who are doing the worst things. And so, how can we have a refocus on that? Um, Okay, so what that can look like is any opportunity to shift from resistance. So, like, oh, I'm seeing or hearing Trump or Musk or, all these other entities. I'm taking that in and I need to resist that. So, how many hours we're spending in that resistant mindset versus building of what do we want to see? Who are the people? Who and what are our fours? Like, we are doing this work for our immigrant community that we love, for uh, the children who need a healthy, a good education and healthy food and a safe place to be. And, we are doing it for the love of the trees that give us oxygen and beauty. And we're doing it for the artists and musicians that give so much to our culture. And so, thinking about your fours. So let's look at the chat. If you can drop who or what are you doing this for? So not who we're against and who we're resisting, but what and who do we want to build a better future for? And let's see if we can get into that shift of focus. All right. Children, grandchildren, proactive actions that help others. Yep. Okay. People that had to emigrate. Yes, yes, a country that can feel safe to come back to and have them in my life like they used to be. Yes, yes, we want this country to be safe for everyone, especially, well, especially everyone, but immigrants, maybe LGBTQ community and how much they are being harmed and, caring about them. Oh, I love my ancestors too. Like, yes, like also doing this for the people who came before us, the people who are coming after us, whether they're our children or other people's children, for parents, for all of the people, all of humanity, the future. Yes. Okay. So thinking about these, our fours, our whys, any opportunity for you to be able to shift, maybe a little bit of that time. So thinking of a habit shift and a swap of um, where we might be spending a little time consuming or being bombarded by people, animals and wildlife, yes, by the people who we're against and who are causing the suffering and harm. And is there any way to shift that? So going back to this slide, shifting focus, what could that look like? Away from the people who we are resisting and for the ones that we are building our future for. So, let's see. Okay, so one habit shift. What could that look like? Uh, oh, I have an example here. Okay. Does anyone else have trouble sleeping? You can put in the chat if you have trouble sleeping. Yes, okay. So I have struggled with sleep for many years, just like so many issues that I won't get into the origin of it. But I have shifted to a nighttime routine that makes it much more possible for me to sleep and for me to not be in that like red or green zone, anxious, all the things that my thoughts are going to, all the people I don't want to be thinking about as I'm trying to go to bed. And so what that can look like is I created a nice like nighttime routine that helps me unwind and separate myself from the things that are triggering for me. So all of my work, email, social media, news, all that is completely away by 9 p.m. And this can look differently for everybody, especially if you have kids or, caretaking. So it's like, what can work for you? And then I usually watch a show with my partner, ideally something lighthearted. If anyone has any favorite shows you want to put in the chat that help you kind of unwind and get into that, lighthearted mood. Like we'd been watching Man on the Inside. I think there's a new season of Shrinking coming up. I love that show so much. Queer Eye. I heard there's a new Queer Eye season coming. So from 9 to 10, watch something to kind of decompress, ideally something lighthearted. 10 p.m. I start getting ready for bed. I have a little journal that I do a very quick thing. It's like nothing formal at all. It's not fancy writing by any means. And it's just kind of like what's on my mind, maybe of like, wow, today was really hard and that bad news was awful. And, kind of getting it down there, but then shifting. And I end with a quick note of what was the best moment or a best moment of today. And so it could have been like, my lunch was really delicious. Or that conversation that I had with an old friend, or when the cat did something cute, just like anything of looking at like something really small. And then I shift from that to I usually do a little reading from a novel, and then I read a few poems. There's actually neuroscience behind how poetry affects our brains differently, especially at night, getting ready for bed. And so I read some poems, and then I do a 10-minute meditation. So this is all like, and I use amber light. So I use an amber night light on my or lamp on my nightstand, and then my phone. You can switch your phone to be red light backed at night instead of blue light. But I'm generally, only have my phone there for the meditation anyway. So yeah, thinking about what that could look like for you, of what is something where you can, move away from, have a little bit less time that you're spending with the worst people that we can think of. So, okay, I'm gonna look in the chat here. And we've got, okay, yeah, shifting to building community. Um, okay, oh my gosh, somebody is already calmer and less on fire than when this started. I am so happy to hear that. Okay, but a lot of people, I think this is struggling with sleep. What is sleep? Oh gosh, yes, we definitely need to get you access to sleep. Okay, we have from Dave here, no news or social media after 8, just reading movies, board games. Yes, yes, I love that. Okay, so these are things that people can, okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, there are so many great ideas. So I hope you're looking at the chat if you can. So somebody, Faith said, when I need a TikTok fix, I immediately switch to the STEM tab and just watch videos on science, space, dinosaurs, and animals. Okay, awesome. I have a reference later that you might enjoy, Faith, related to some of that. Call the Midwife. Okay, so that must be a show recommendation. Playing the pandemic board game. Oh my gosh. Okay. Making protest banners, Stranger Things. Okay, we've got a lot of great things in here. Doctor Who, reading Mona's Eyes, Man on the Inside. Yeah, All Creatures Great and Small. I don't think I have heard of that, but it sounds like I would really like it. And The Great British Bake Off. Yes, people absolutely turn to shows like that. King of the Hill is pretty hilarious. Cat videos. Yeah. Okay. So all these things that can get us, our minds, especially before bed, our minds away from the worst things. There are two things, Rachel, if you wouldn't mind dropping the links to my friend KB Brookins, has a wonderful trans activist and writer who has a Substack and also video content on Instagram and maybe TikTok as well. That's trans news that doesn't suck. So it's like this alternative news of like, hey, there's hard news all the time. Um, but here, like, let's look at this so that we don't just get totally beat down and defeated. There's also this one. So, like I mentioned, I shared some of Margaret Killjoy. This is what she shared about what she saw in Minneapolis, I think a week ago. Which, of course, there's been one more tragedy there, but still, like, what is happening there? So you can grab those links to look at them later. No need to read them now, but these are two things that can help of like, okay, I can look at the news that gives me all the bad stuff, and then also sometimes I'm going to need a break and shift to, oh yeah, who are the people and the reasons and the things that I'm doing this for again? So it's that shift that's really, really key. Um, okay, so I think we have a little bit of time. If anybody wants to raise their hand, let's hear from one person on one thing that you think you could swap. Um, so instead of maybe, well, okay, we already had a great example with the TikTok. So let's say that person is like, okay, I could watch the news and be really upset about what I'm seeing on TikTok, or I can go to the TikTok page or whatever that's about dinosaurs, and that's going to be really helpful for me. Does anybody want to raise their hand and come off mute about one idea? It doesn't have to be set in stone. You don't have to be committed to it yet, but one idea for a swap. Okay, are they all going in the chat? We can wait until the next one to hear from somebody verbally. But so on the worksheet, we're on the first framework, refocus on your four. So go ahead and put in there. Okay, we have somebody pick up knitting again. Yes. So thinking, and you can start small. You can start with like 10 minutes that you would otherwise be on the news getting all the worst people coming at you. Or try some knitting. So I love that. And let's see, I want to see a few more of these. So go ahead and add them to your worksheet as something that you can consider. Daily Beans podcast is great news and always ends with the good news to clean the palate. Awesome. Okay, working in the yard once the freeze is over. Okay, yeah, puzzles. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Pilates. Okay, awesome. Yes. So these like little increments, 10 minutes, even as small as you need to start, if it's 5 minutes of a switch, thinking about what that could do, considering where our thoughts go, and what happens with our thoughts. Also in the mornings, I used to wake up and be on like Slack and email and or social media, and I've stopped doing that, and it's helped so much to where I start the morning with a 10-minute meditation, exercise, breakfast, exercise, shower, creative writing. I know I'm lucky to make my schedule now, now that I'm freelance, but any version of that that can work for you with your schedule and all your responsibilities, any shift of like, ooh, instead of jumping on some social media or the news first thing when I wake up, what's an easier way? It could be exercise, what I see here, or people mentioned earlier, hugging dogs, like, maybe start the day with the morning hugging dogs or with, something with kids or craftivism, knitting. Yes. Okay. Okay. So that is looking good. And now we can go to the second one. All right. So thank you everyone for all these fantastic things that you're putting in the chat, and make sure to add notes on your worksheet so that you have something to walk away with. And I am going to check next time. So the second workshop, I am going to check in on how things are going. So even if you just did like a 5-minute swap, I'm going to be so excited for you. All right. So we're going to go to second one here. All right, taking action for energy balance. So, thinking about what drains us action-wise. So, I think most of us were sharing the experience of watching the news, hearing, seeing, reading about Trump and or ICE and or, all these other people part of the regime and otherwise harming people. That's something that like invades our thoughts and gets us down in that way. But also a lot of you are taking action. There are so many things that need to happen all the time, and thinking about the actions that we take, what we do, so not just our minds but our bodies, where we go, and what we're doing with other people, ourselves, and what drains us versus refills or replenishes us. And so I, as an example, oh wait, actually, let's go to the poll first. Rachel, if you can do the number 3, please, so I can get a feel for how much is in the fight action zone for y'all. So that can include time that you are protesting, calling or calling out, on social media or letters, anything like that, members of Congress or other elected officials, posting or writing about what is not okay, things like that, maybe testifying against legislation or local ordinances. So thinking of this, let's see, is the poll, oh, okay, there it is. So yeah. So this is how much of your week is spent in a fight action zone. So not saying this is bad. Protest is so important, and it does make a difference, and it's great that y'all do that. But just considering, okay, so how much of my, my action am I in that fight mode? Um,
We're at a little over 50%. I'll give people a
okay,
few more seconds to
awesome.
get your answers locked in.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rachel.
That beeping you sound here in the background is my husband making cookies. That's a
Oh, I didn't
lovely
hear
thing
it
to.
until just a second, and so hopefully we can start smelling it too. That sounds good.
All
All
right, we seem to
right.
have leveled off. I'm going to
Okay.
share results.
All right. Okay. 10 to 30%. All right. So that is, although for some people it is up to 50%, and for a few people most of the week. Okay. So this is fine because this is the work. But we can start to evaluate a little bit more, especially as things are ramping up for ICE or other issue areas, anything like that. So thinking about, okay, it is, so important to stay protesting, holding people accountable for the harm that they're causing, things like that. But just noticing and paying a little bit more attention to how much of my actions are connected to that versus the ones that connect back to my four of okay, we've got something in the chat that okay, so escorting to Planned Parenthood twice a week. Yeah, so that's a four, right? Like that is I wouldn't say, well, okay, it could feel a little bit like a a fight zone if there are people, if they still have like the protesters or yeah, because you have to escort people. So, but that is a four of like, I care so much about people having access to, their reproductive choices and freedom. And so, yes. And then demonstrations with Indivisible. So that can look like protest of, we are against this. This is bad. Everybody needs to know about this. And it's also often about, we are for this thing, right? Of like, here's who we care about. And we're going to be loud about who we care about. And we're going to be so just moving forward with the power of our incredible love for other humans, for the world, for our future, those things. Um, or making blueberry muffins. Okay. So, or cinnamon rolls. Man, okay, we have a lot of bakers in the house. I am jealous. Okay. So, yes, we've got positive messaging on pop-up protests. People already mentioned their familiarity with Laftivism. And then I think I saw craftivism. So, okay, yeah, like this is so good of like, what are these ways that we can be in good trouble, the kind that feels good? Because there are already so many actions. So it sounds like y'all are already doing a good amount of things with this, which is perfect. So, but thinking about if there could still be a little bit of a shift in some of the time the actions that you're taking that feel fight based. And so that could look like things that look like gratitude, non-action. Sometimes what you need is to do nothing, to pause, to rest. And so a few options for rest, and some of these have already shown up in the chat. So working over lunch, oh gosh, I have definitely done that a lot. And I really, really try to have meals that are more focused on, food, being grateful for the food that I have. And if I'm eating with anyone else, really focusing, being present on that. But also definitely just like alone time and quiet space, technology breaks, yes. I can't believe, if anybody had told us what 20 years ago that we would have little computers next to us that like ruled our lives. Phones, like we gotta disconnect from our phones when we can. The sleeping, naps, time in nature, listening to music, meditating. Okay, so any of these, like anything like this, or the things that y'all shared about the type of actions that you're taking that feel really good of like, yes, this is replenishing me. These are just to get a little bit more into the rest, because I think for a lot of you, the answer could be one of the like the one habit that you need would be swapping some type of something that you're doing with more rest. That is often the answer depending on the person and the circumstance, but so we not only need physical rest of like sleeping and meditation and being still, but our mental rest and how much we are, on our phones and in the world and knowing about everything all the time. That is mentally exhausting. Emotional rest, especially with the news, we need our emotions to have a breather. Sensory, so kind of blocking out light and sound and things like that if you can. Spiritual rest, which can include community, so your groups are certainly great for that. But it could also be social rest, so maybe that does look like either focusing on key relationships or just, taking care of yourself, and which could be alone time. And then creative rest. So some of you already shared about some of the creative things that you're doing, whether it's the pottery or baking muffins or, different things like that. So that is excellent. Okay, let's go. Oh, actually, we can do that. All right. Anything else in the chat on an unrelated novel? Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely some books and things that that help me shift. Small steps are key. Absolutely, Heather. That is it. I don't want y'all to walk away today to be like, to feel like, okay, I got to make a big change in my life. It's just, it doesn't work that way. Uh, I've tried to make big changes. It only works if I make small changes, and one at a time. So that's why it's the goal. And so here's where we're looking at that again. What would this look like to swap one action that drains you? So something that you do because you feel like you have to do it. And maybe it's just for a pause, maybe just for a little while. You're just not going to do it right now, but maybe you'll come back to it. And hopefully others, people kind of rotating in and out of roles, things like that. Looking at how can I switch from something that is draining me and replacing that with something that replenishes me. So you can, if you have an idea on that habit shift, you can put it number 2 here. And also adding a note or two on what action or activity drains your energy and what gives you energy, what replenishes you. And then if you already have an idea of a habit switch, so there are already so many great ideas in the chat. Feel free to borrow anyone else's idea too. If you're seeing the other people are like, maybe, okay, yeah, so this, spending less time on social media. Yes, like how can we make that actionable? We're gonna continue getting into this, but thinking of like, all right, when do I get on social media as soon as I wake up? What can I do for 10 minutes? Like when I get up, if I would otherwise jump on social media, what can I do instead? That could be um, a walk or Pilates or slowing down to make breakfast, or maybe there's a podcast that really, comforts you. I do a lot of poetry podcasts. The Slowdown is one, and then Padre Gotuma's Poetry Unbound. I absolutely love it. It's so comforting for me. Anything that maybe baking something, yes. So thinking about like, okay, I have don't cut your bangs. All right, maybe it has to do with a haircut. This is so funny. Okay, so cooking for others instead of being on social media or TV. Yeah, if you enjoy cooking, I happen to not. I wish I did. I love that some people love cooking. Um, Okay, yes. So Substack, yes. Look at a small amount, maybe 10 or 30 minutes of time on Substack, and then just have this automatic like, oop, that's my reminder to do this instead, because that's going to replenish me, and that is how I can make my activism more sustainable. Okay. All right, making a cup of tea and breakfast and listening to a podcast or book on tape instead of yes, Shayna or Shauna, I love that. Okay, tutoring second graders. Oh, yes. Okay, Mrs. Kinney and David's response of, so that's an action of your 4, right? Of like, I care about kids and education, and so I'm gonna tutor them 4 days a week. That is, yes, and it's so gratifying and beautiful and important. So thank you. So yeah, feel free to finish taking notes in the worksheet for number 2 here. Okay, and we are getting into our last 35 minutes. Y'all are doing great. All right, so let's now go to, oh, okay. Rachel, if you wouldn't mind dropping that other link, love the people more than you hate the empire.
It's in the chat.
Oh, it is. Okay, perfect. So if y'all want to open this, uh, it's an Instagram post series where, right, we are just talking about less time on social media. I apologize. This is something that you can just look at real quick or look at later, and then I hope it doesn't get you sucked in. But this is the idea of like actions and shifting from that, fight against, we're against this type of thing, to how can you love the people in your neighborhood? And something connects to what somebody just said about tutoring kids. So this is like offering free childcare in your friend group. You could shift if someone is low on funds in your friend group, shift away from dinners out to potlucks. Keep a running spreadsheet of skills and offers that are easy for people to offer for free. Yes, so a lot of this like mutual aid, community care, in your home, what is something that okay, so this says in your home, practice inviting friends over when your house is messy. Demonstrate that they can do the same. So releasing this pressure of like we need to, be perfect all the time. Um, so, oh gosh, donating blood. Okay, that is a really beautiful way, a very committed way to do something out of love. So anyway, this you can refer to this Instagram post series later, but just this reminder of like, okay, we have the empire, the regime, all these people who are harming, but we can shift our actions and our time to those that we care about. Okay. Uh, how are we doing on time? All right, we're right about there. So the third one is one that I use very frequently now. Okay. So this is what I call stop the spiral. And we're going back to mindset again, but from a different angle. So this is because of my, oh, actually, first I was going to ask in the chat, does anyone else identify as a worrier? Like somebody, whether it's, people getting home safely when they're driving or flying, or, our future in general, or anything that it's like, okay, I'm always kind of thinking worst case scenario, what do I need to be prepared for? And that means I've spent a good amount of my life worrying. Okay, yep, I'm seeing a lot of other people in the chat are admitting that they are also worriers. Okay. Yeah, it is not easy being a worrier. And so that is the main point here of stop the spiral. So with my brain, often, especially in the past year, with how much more intense things have gotten in the past year, my brain can easily spiral. And so I've been working with one of the people in my inspirations slide was Geeta Kalagi, and I've been working with her for 12 years now. She's a mindfulness meditation instructor, and she knows her stuff so well. She has saved my life 100 times. And so something that she told me recently when I was just like, I can't function because of how worried I am, how bad things are, how much worse I think they're going to get. And she said, Lauren, I understand. And any energy that you spend wishing things weren't as they are is energy that could instead go to better things, which could be rest, planning to, address those things, connecting, taking action, making art, dancing, eating or making nourishing food. So anytime I'm dwelling on those thoughts, of like, I wish this weren't happening. I hate that this is happening. I am so upset that this is happening. All of that energy, that dwelling, is diminishing my health and thus also the movement. Because if I'm not the one currently being under attack right now, which a lot of people are, if that's not me, I need to be okay to do the action, to plan and to get out there and to, get in the way of whatever that looks like. There are so many roles, and I know you all are good at having, different groups and committees. Um, so, I had to come up with something to stop doing that so much of like just spiraling of like, this is so bad, and it's gonna get worse, it's gonna get this bad. So, she helped me see the damage of that it doesn't do anybody any good for me to be in that spiral. And so I started this mindset shift of like, okay, I'm spiraling, stop. Like sometimes I even verbally say, stop, stop. What can I do about it? So let's take ice, for example. Seeing the news, the past year, but really like ICE has been attacking our communities for decades. But right now it is very present in our lives. It is very intense. The tactics, everything is like so to the extreme. And so it's like, okay, I'm seeing this really bad news. Stop, okay, because I can just like spiral out of like all the people that are currently being harmed and more that are going to be harmed, and maybe I'll get shot. And maybe, other people more people are going to get shot, like all that. So I have to stop. What can I do about it? okay, I can go to my local network where we're organizing, doing similar things to what y'all have done, and check in there of what's the next action, what's the next thing that we are doing to prepare and to get more people being a part of pushing back against this and or focusing on our four, protecting and supporting because directly impacted people are leading a lot of it, and so how can I support that to help those who are most targeted. And a lot of that comes with looking at what is my sphere of influence and control. Can I control what ICE does? Generally, no. Can I control what Trump does? Nah, yeah, pretty much no. Uh, and so, what can I control of like what's happening in my community and where people are plugging in and connecting and how I can have a role there. And so, like, if I'm getting bad news about that, I'm like, okay, stop. Let me check in with our signal group. Let me see what's next. That's on my calendar. I'm going to do that, whether it's a shift or a training, something like that. And now I have to release it because if I just keep holding onto it, then I'm just harming myself, which makes me less available to get out there and do the work. So I use Stop the Spiral all the time, especially at night when I am getting ready for bed and I just have to go through this, and it gets easier and it gets more second nature for me. I don't have to say the stop out loud as much anymore, but I did in the beginning. And this has been so much of that, and I'm hearing Geeta telling me all the time, you're wishing things weren't as they are. You got to let that go. It's not helping. It doesn't help. So that is a part of what that looks like. Another aspect of this is a few things. Okay, so this quote about worry is pretty fantastic. And then I have another one from a poet that I'll share.
Mhm.
Worry is the misuse of the imagination. And so that misuse of the imagination, and that resonates so much for me because of just knowing that, like, I want to be a part of the people who are imagining a better future. So if I am spending a lot of my energy and my imagination of instead worrying about worst case scenario and or focusing on the worst things that are happening right now, uh, I could shift that use, right? And a big, big thing is reducing additional suffering. Because if there's suffering happening and then our response is like, that is horrible, I need to also feel horrible, that it's actually not helping anybody. It can feel terrible to be having joy and to be doing things that are beautiful and make us laugh while people are suffering. But the reality is, like, we know that all of you, all of us are already doing what we can. And so, we really have to be easier on ourselves and know that every time that we are able to step away and laugh and rest and connect and have joy, it is good. It is good for the people who are suffering because then we're better equipped to help address that suffering. Okay, and then there's the zoom in, zoom out, but I think first there's the zebra. And Rachel, we'll get to the poll in just a second. I see that I am a little bit past that, but thank you. So, be the zebra. Does anyone remember, if you can put in the chat, when this whole idea came out of the book and the videos and all the things, why zebras don't get ulcers? And this whole story that a lot of people were talking about on zebras and how I think it's usually a lion they refer to. So zebras are out, they're eating and drinking, living their lives, and then a lion, or yeah, a lion comes and it chases them, and it's like 3 minutes of like so much intensity. Oh my gosh, you got to run for your life. Like you are possibly going to be killed so that you can be a lion's meal. And so zebras are good at like, oh, okay, now's the time we are under direct attack. We got to run, and it's likely one of us isn't going to make it. But those who do, they get to like a pond or water source or something, and then they switch it off. They're like, all right. And now we're gonna, do what we do, and we're gonna have some water, and we're gonna eat, and we're gonna do what our bodies need. And so it's that on-off switch that humans have essentially lost of we are almost always telling our bodies that we're under direct attack because of how much our phones bring the bad stuff to us and into our homes, into our brains. And so, thinking about being the zebra of like, when can I identify, oh, I'm not under direct attack right now. I can breathe, I can slow down, I can rest. So, I want to see in the chat, does anybody remember this zebra thing? Um, let's see. Oh, we have another quote. Oh, I think somebody's accidentally mute. Rachel, is that you that we're hearing? Background noise. Okay, no worries, Rachel. Okay, so another one that stuck with me is worry is prayers that you don't want answered. Oh, okay, yes. So on the worry, um, and thinking about I'm seeing some great things here. Okay, I set a timer when I start spiraling and force myself to do something else when the timer goes off. Okay. Yeah, or 5 minutes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. And this from Confucius, man who worries pays twice. All right. Yes, being a highly sensitive person, the double whammy of these. Okay, there are so many good things here in the chat. And so we're going to do, I think there's one more aspect of this. Yes. Okay, we're going to do the zoom in and zoom out. Okay, where is sorry, my screen changed. Come on, let me share. Uh-oh, it's blocked. My laptop is being difficult. There it goes. Okay. All right, so this zoom out, zoom in thing. Oh, actually, here's one more quote about worrying. From Mary Oliver, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up. And I took my old body and went out into the morning and sang. All right, so uh, of course, this can sound like, okay, easier said than done, but I don't know. What if we do recognize the futility of time that we spend worrying and look at shifting it? So that's a big part of what all this is how can we shift things, our mindsets, our time spent, our energy, everything like that. So wait, do I not have the zoom in and zoom out? Okay. So the zoom in and zoom out is something that I also do fairly frequently. And so what that looks like is zooming in is hyper awareness and focus on the present moment, like right now, this second, maybe one breath at a time. We can check, okay, are our needs being met right now? Do we have access to water? Have we been able to eat today? Do we have shelter, especially in extreme weather? All those things. So that's like a zoom in. So if you're spiraling and the news or something, what's going on out there, is coming after you, that like, okay, present moment right now. What is happening right now? Am I okay right now? Can I breathe? Do I have air to breathe right in this moment? So that's zooming way, way in and just like focusing there if you can. And yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yep. And then zooming out is like we can go so far out. And so considering generations, centuries, even wider. So there has been so much suffering in the world and humans harming each other. Like for the history of humanity, there's been a lot of suffering and harm, right? And so it's really just the past century or so that we've made vast improvements to our quality of life, generally less conflict than previous centuries. But this recent increase of everything that we're seeing and focusing on is a blow. Now, granted, we do have more access to information, and so, like, relatively speaking, it might still be on the lower end compared to like 100 years ago, but it is a lot. It's a lot of bad things going on. But we've found so many ways to care for each other, connect, create art and beauty. And so, including all those years ago when horrible things were happening, and, whole areas like they did have that into the world. It's, so many people were killed. The, conquest of the Americas, the US, what happened to the indigenous population here. And some of them survived, and some of them, are doing what they can and beautiful things in the world. And so thinking of this like big picture of like, okay, we are but a speck, right? Like this is a tiny flash in time. And one of those things that can help, which might connect to the person who's into the STEM videos, is anyone familiar with the cosmic calendar? It's a pretty cool idea. Rachel, if you want to drop in the chat, thank you. The cosmic calendar of like the history of the universe. And if it were put into a 1 year calendar, 12 months, the years that we have. And if y'all want to open this link, so it's like the entire universe in 1 year. What it starts with the Big Bang and goes through all these things. The first galaxy clusters form, the Milky Way, and it's not until you have to scroll all the way down. So we've got the last day of the year, humans split from apes. In these last hours of the last day of the year, Homo sapiens appear. The earliest cave drawings appear. And then it's the last seconds, the final seconds of December 31st of this like entire scope of the universe when the wheel is invented, writing is invented, the pyramids, and then humans landing on the moon in the last 0.13 seconds. So anyway, in case it helps of like, anytime you're spiraling of zooming way in, yeah, or way out, we're a drop in the bucket. And so that those kind of perspectives help me like, okay, also maybe not take myself so seriously of like, I have to do this thing perfectly or, everything is over and terrible. Like, okay, like there's so much bigger than me. Um, okay. So, what does this look like as a shift? Let's go back to, yes. Okay. So for me, what this looks like, the stopping the spiral, is my journaling practice before bed. So if I'm starting to spiral about how much worse things will get, how bad they are, and how much worse they could get. I have lived briefly in Chile in South America, so I'm very familiar with the history of dictatorships and what that looks like, for decades after, and how scary they are, and how they really come after everyone. And so I've had a lot of fear about where we've been headed for years. Like I've been, Rachel knows how much I would like stress about, y'all, we are going in a really dangerous direction. It is gonna be like I could just picture like all the things, the soccer stadiums of torture and the disappearances and all these things, and we're seeing that and it's terrifying. But I have to, stop myself and breathe and remember that my stress about it will help no one. And so I go through the stop the spiral. I say, okay, what's in my control? What can I do? Okay, I'm gonna make a quick plan to do that and maybe write down, like I'm so worried about this. And then here's what I'm gonna do. And now I have to let it go and try to sleep and and then release it and try to rest. So, similar thing for watching or reading the news. So, terrible things happening every day, absolutely. And then when I encounter them, we can still sit with the emotion. We can still grieve. We can recognize this is really bad. I need to grieve about this. But then thinking about that zooming in or zooming out and considering what the action is or isn't. Maybe the action is this is something I cannot or am right now not able to do anything about. I need to release it from my responsibility. So let's go to that poll real quick, just to get a feel for generally how many things y'all are holding as far as issues. So this is how many issues. So that could be immigration, LGBTQ, plus, communities, the climate crisis, education, so many things. How many of those issues and or electoral races, each electoral race that you feel responsible for is one of them. How many of those do you feel personally responsible for addressing in a given, week or month or year? Um, and so I'm probably gonna say 4 to 6, which I know is too many, is like not reasonable, but I think that's what I hold is about 4 to 6 of them. So I'd love to see how many y'all are holding.
We are at about 60%. We'll give folks just a few more moments to
Thank
finish
you
the
so
poll.
much, Rachel.
Of course. All right, seems like it's leveled off. Give it just another moment for folks. All right. That's 73%. Let's roll with it. Here's
Okay,
the results.
thank you. Okay, so yeah, we've got 43% in that 4 to 6 issues. Some of you do feel responsible personally for more than 10 issues or races. Oof, okay, that's a lot. Ooh, some of you, almost a third of you, 29% is just 1 to 3. That is really great. Okay, so the next workshop on focus, I really hope y'all come back because you're going to be able to, those of you who are focusing on like 1, 2, or 3 things, we could really use your insights and feedback next time. And I'm going to have less content next time and more opportunity for y'all to talk. But thank you so much for all of the engagement in the chat. It's been fantastic. And so, thinking about that, a lot of us, close to half of everybody here, including myself, feel personally responsible for 4 to 6 issues or electoral races. And that's a lot on top of, living our lives, paying the bills, whatever work we need to do for that, and taking care of our health and our loved ones, all those things. So that is a lot. And so we can look at going back to the worksheet here and thinking about, okay, a lot of us are holding a lot of things and it's pretty overwhelming, and we want to do what we can to reduce that because, again, the goal is more sustainability for this. Okay, so let's say in the worksheet, if y'all want to look at the 3 frameworks, refocus on your 4 from a mindset thing, taking action for energy balance, stop the spiral. Which of those is resonating for you? You can put in the chat 1, 2, or 3, or if you want to use a term for it. Mm, I see someone said it helps to take my issues in turns. I can't own the whole set of problems all the time. Yes, yes, rotating in and out because sometimes one issue is more immediate anyway. Okay, so we're already getting some things here. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, perfect. Stop the spiral. Yep. Okay, so this is great because again, at the beginning, I said the goal, I really only want y'all to take one thing from today. Like, sure, you might refer to other things in the resources that we'll send after. You might return to those later, but I don't want you to feel overwhelmed of like, oh, okay, there's so many things that I want to keep in mind. Kind of like with all the memes and quotes and things that I shared, I come across those things all the time on social media, and I'm like, oh, this is great, and I save it. But it's information overload, right? Even good things, even the good things. It's like we have so much it that all of it just kind of slides off. And so we want something to land, something to stick, and something to hold on to. I'm seeing different responses in the chat here. 1, 2, 3. There's a good mix of all of those. So if you want to circle the one that is resonating for you the most. And then looking at that habit shift, that like one thing to swap or one thing to add or remove from how you're approaching every day. And with habits, y'all have probably heard the different studies and, research on this. Like there's the one that says like it takes 3 weeks of doing something. The research that I tap into the most when it comes to habits is what you do 70% of the time. So that means if you are making a plan to have a new habit to change from when you wake up, instead of going to social media, you are going to go to something that making a nice breakfast and like kind of taking your time and focusing, maybe with a podcast that's like really a feel-good one and it just provides a lot of comfort. So let's say that's your habit that you're going to try to walk away with today. And let's say tomorrow something your phone is blowing up because some huge terrible thing happened and it's like, okay, I need to, be engaged and check in on this. And so instead of being like, well, I already messed it up, or let's say you did 1 or 2 weeks of like every day you were able to make the switch of instead of 1 hour of news, you did a 1 hour walk. And like that was going really well, but then there was a big storm, and so you didn't. So the main thing with the 70% rule is that it's okay. When there's a disruption, it's okay as long as you can set it aside and say, I'll get back to it tomorrow. And so never feeling like if you miss a day or two or three, that it means you have to give up the whole thing. You're aiming for 70%. And then when you can do that week after week, it really sets in. So all the habits that I've built in my nighttime routine and all those things, it was not all of that at once. It was building in one thing at a time over years. Um, so let's think about that. So in the worksheet, what would it look like to create a new habit around one of these frameworks? So I'll give you a minute to look at that, and then I'll invite a couple of you to come off mute and share on those questions. One thing I can do for my health and activism sustainability this week, or one thing I can do for my health and activism sustainability today. So there are a few more hours left in the daytime, waking hours today, or more than a few, really. And so thinking of like one thing. So go ahead and take a minute in the worksheet thinking about, and you can also drop in the chat, what would it look like for one habit, one switch from whichever of these frameworks or any of the quotes or ideas or anything that we went through today. Yes. Okay. A quote that helps me not be too hard on myself while I work to build habits or take away negative habits. Trying is already an act of change. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, a music break. Okay, I love that. So thinking, all right, when do I typically turn on the news, and can I at one point in the day switch instead of news, I'm going to do music. The more specific, so while you're in your worksheets, the more specific you can be, the better, because then it just makes it easier for you to know, okay, I did the thing today. Because it can be hard to say, like, I want to rest more. It's like, well, okay, what is that? And so if I say I want to rest by, oh, I'll tell y'all one thing that I do, recognizing that I do too much. I'm definitely in the like hyper productivity zone, that type of person. So I realized I need to do nothing. And I'm not good at doing nothing because of our phones and our, all the things that even when I'm reading, it's doing something. Even when I'm meditating, it's, taking action to meditate. So on Sundays at 7:30, I sit here on the floor in my office and I turn out the lights and I just sit there or lie down and I literally do nothing for 30 minutes. And I set a timer so that I'm not like getting anxious about like, well, how long am I going to do this? It's 30 minutes. And it helps me so, so much. So I literally do nothing for 30 minutes on Sundays as like one of my habits that I worked in. So maybe you want to try something similar, but start maybe just at 5 minutes. Maybe you're going to have like some point in the day that's really overwhelming. You're going to say every day, as when I'm done with work, I'm going to take 5 minutes and do nothing, or I'm going to take 5 minutes and just listen to music and not be on my phone and not, anything like that. So, okay, as we're in our last few minutes here, I'm seeing some really, really great things in the chat. Yes, 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 these habits. Okay, so if you want to, jot anything else down on your worksheet, but let's have a few people, if you can do the raised hand, so we can see and hear you about one thing, one switch that you want to make today or this week. And it can be really small, like really a minute of, a mindset shift or, any of the things that we've been talking about or any ideas. Do we have anyone who can do a raised hand? We are getting really great answers in the chat here. Yes. Okay. An alarm on my phone to get up and walk around the apartment. Yeah. Even just like sitting on the computer all day. Okay. We've got Sue. All right. Sue, if you want to unmute, what's one thing that would be good for you to make a change?
These are not the most shy people in the world. I'm surprised they won't talk. But so one thing I've decided is first thing in the morning, I'm going to stop reading Substack.
Okay.
And there are some light exercises I need to do because I'm old, and I have things like neuropathy and achy bones and that kind of stuff. And I'm going to do that first because I need to for my health. and because I don't need to start the day thinking about politics. So that's what I'm going to do.
I love that. I'm going to do a little, feel free to add more emojis, celebrate. Thank you, Sue. I am excited for you. I think that that will make a difference. Yes, that is what taking care of yourself and the movement looks like. That is sustainable activism. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any idea? And it's okay if you change your mind later. It's okay if it seems too small. Anyone else with the raised hand, or just unmute if you don't see the raised hand feature. You can just unmute. Until then, we can look at um, the chat. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Okay, we've got Virginia. Let's if you want to unmute and share what's one thing that you're going to try.
Well, I used to wake up and watch MSNBC, whatever they call it now. So I'm going to try maybe playing some New York Times crossword puzzle games or something just as a substitute till I get that broken pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those games. I used to do those. The one
Wordle,
Wordle and is it categories? I really like
connections,
connections. Yes, yes, that one. Yeah, yeah, that's a way to use your brain in a different way. Thank you so much, Virginia. That sounds awesome. And feel free to you can on your worksheet or your phone, wherever's handy for you, to have a list of a few options maybe, and then you can test it out. So like each morning you can be like, okay, if I start my day with Wordle, like, how's that working? Is it fun? Or do I want to switch to music or some type of exercise like Sue mentioned, anything like that. So yeah, if connections stresses you out, do not turn to that. Bevan, you do not need to do connections. Something that's better for you. So, oh, fresh air on the balcony or walk around the neighborhood. Yes, I love that. So a substitute for social media. And again, if you can have this time bound and you can start small, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you can do that, or someone said setting a timer on their phone. That's what I do for my do nothing sessions. It helps because otherwise you're like, oh, I should just do this for as long as I can. And you'll probably feel that anxious tug of like, I don't know if that's long enough. So really having the constraint of like, I'm just going to do this for X amount of minutes, no pressure to do more. That really can help me be more sustainable. Okay, so as we're coming to the end of the workshop, I seriously want to thank you, all of you, for what you do, but also who you are. Like this, this is the future of people coming together and saying, we are going to take action, we are going to stand up for what we believe in and take care of those we love, even the people we don't even know, but we love them anyway, and we're going to do this work. And so, thank you. And next up will be February 22nd, Find Your Focus. I'm going to try to have less content because this was a lot and more time. So get ready to chime in more, to come off mute for the next one. And also, especially a lot of you who have already figured out how to narrow your focus to 1 to 3 issues or races, we could really use your insights as we talk through the Find Your Focus topics next month. So, all right. In the meantime, thank you again. And I'll send some links to Rachel and the leadership team to send. But this was really great. It is an honor to be here in this space with you and to support the work that you're doing because you are making a difference. You're changing your city, your state, and the world. And I love it. So, okay.
And
Hope to see
thank
you
you,
next month.
Lauren. I think I'm going to be wrapping us up and closing us out
Sure.
today. I hope you see all the love you're getting in the chat and in the emojis floating across the screen. I'm going to drop Lauren's website as well as the Join Indivisible. One more time. I dropped it early a moment ago. Apologies. But, you can follow all the wonderful work she does, as well as if you are maybe here from one of our partner organizations and aren't quite a member yet, get involved with us as well. We all work together in partnership, and we will be doing 2 more of these sessions. So thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you. All
And
right.
thank
See
you
y'all
to
next
everyone who came.
time.
Thank you
Yes,
so
definitely.
much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
What a great way to spend a snow day.
I feel better.
Rachel, you're dressed like you're in Florida.
I'm warm today.
I'm so bundled.
You know. All right. I think we're recording, so I'm going to close us out. Good night. Stay safe and stay warm.